today, and I have some really killer content for you. I know everybody is wanting to do more with sales and just being better at getting deeper buys and all that kind of stuff. So I have two incredibly smart individuals with me today, Scott and Mike. Before I get into the conversation with them, just a little bit of business here. Make sure that you're following me on the Real Don Costa on Instagram, at the Real Don Costa on Instagram. If you want to be part of an incredible mastermind community, go to beinthisroom.com, where we're building the beast of the industry. One of the reasons why I have these gentlemen on, because I want to make sure that we're building beast in this industry, and make sure that you're sharing this, commenting on this, getting the information out, liking it, reviewing it everywhere that you're seeing it, so that we can get the word out that we're dropping some killer content. So again, I have some good friends of mine, Mike and Scott. How are you guys doing today?
Man, we're doing good. We're excited to be here, excited to talk to you.
Yeah, it's exciting stuff that we're doing. We're happy to be here.
Definitely, for sure. So let's talk about the dynamics. So for people who don't know who you guys are, I know people know Scott pretty well out there, but for somebody who doesn't know, when did you get into the real estate investing industry? So you started the company, you brought Mike in as your COO. So let's talk about how you guys started and how that dynamic kind of came together.
Yeah, so it was almost 5 years ago now. So we were 2015. And started the company actually with my wife. And since then, we've grown significantly. Mike came on about, what's it been, 2.5 years?
About 3 years now, yeah.
Yeah, Mike, actually tried to get Mike on for a while, and he successfully dodged me. And then finally we met, and he came on as a sales guy with us. And probably a year in, if even that, he became the COO of the company. So he grew very quick with the company, and I saw a lot of promise in him. Don't let this go to your head, but I saw a lot of promise in him, and he definitely stepped up, and he helped me take this company to a whole nother level.
Very cool. So let's
say something.
Let's talk about what background were you in, Mike? Let's talk about that first. Okay, so you are, by all intents and purposes, I'm gonna talk you up. You're really good at what you do sales wise. I definitely have thought many times about making you an offer to steal you away, but I love Scott too much, so I can't do that. So let's talk about who you are, and your background, and basically what you did that in the sales industry before you came into real estate investing. That's a compliment to Scott for finding good talent. That's a compliment to you for your skills. So what was your background beforehand? What were you selling? What were you doing before you got into doing acquisitions and real estate investing?
Yeah, so it's actually really cool, and a lot of life experiences that came my way because of it. I was actually a sales manager for West Coast Customs, which was the automotive shop behind the famous Pimp My Ride TV show back in the day. So I worked there for about 12 years, and I dealt with everything in and out of the company as far as sales and then distribution to the clients with the end product. And with that, we were building unique creations that did not exist. So you couldn't just walk in and say, hey, I want that off the shelf, and it costs $25, right? We were truly building dreams, and we were making dreams reality. Well, if you're a celebrity or an athlete or a corporation that wants to push boundaries and has these dreams and has the money and the resources behind it to be able to do that, what would you be willing to pay? So I really had to go down the emotional path with a lot of these special clients to figure out what it is that they wanted. And then I realized the bigger I could make their dream, the more they'd be willing to pay for this dream to come true. So instead of, client A coming in and saying, hey, I'd like to do this to my car, well, I'd spend a couple hours just talking to him about what he'd really want to do. If there was no limits, if there was no price to something like this, if there was no timeline to something like this, what would he actually want? And in doing so, they were willing to just open their checkbooks and pay any price tag at that point. Because once you build your dream, how are you not going to go after and get it? So with that, I was able to kind of take the gloves off and figure out where I could get people to go and how I could get them to go there. And I'd walk in, the owner of the company, West Coast Customs, Ryan Friedlinghaus, him and I are like brothers. He's only 9 years older than me. We spent every day in the vehicle, 6 hours a day driving to and from LA at the time. And I'd come into him as a young kid and say, hey, Ryan, I have, this client that wants to build this type of vehicle. What do you think it would cost? It's like, well, we could probably get it done for about 75 grand. Okay, great. Come back 20 minutes later with a contract for 150,000, right? Because that vehicle or that dream was more than just 75,000 for that individual. Now, somebody else could walk in and that same exact car that costs $150,000 wouldn't be worth 20,000 to anybody else, but it was for that individual. So if you take that skill and that mindset to building the dream, in this case for a seller, getting their vision and getting that dream built for them, that's priceless. So at the end of the day, if they could get their dream come true, price doesn't matter anymore. And when you take out the fear of they won't do it for that low of a price, or there's no way they're going to sell to me for under market value, if you take away that fear and you focus on building their dream, they will sell to you at any price to make sure that they don't lose out on everything that they've ever wanted. But in doing so, you got to go down the emotional path, right? And so I have a lot of history doing that. I've built cars for all the major athletes out there. I've built one of my coolest creations that we've ever came up with was a real life Mario Kart from Mario and Luigi. And we had the VP of operations in Northern America come to my office and meet with me. And they had a vision of, hey, we're releasing Mario Kart 7 or whatever it was at the time. And we want to really build hype into this thing. And we want to build a real life Mario go-kart. I said, wait a second now. A go-kart? You are Nintendo, right? I grew up on Nintendo. So you're going to build a go-kart? That's going to be great for about 3 seconds. And then what? Everybody's going to forget about the go-kart. So why don't we build on that and really bring people what they want? Make them wear a Mario costume and let them drive around in a real Mario Kart. I mean, why not? So we ended up building a Mario Kart and a Luigi Bumblebee, which I hand delivered to the showroom of Nintendo USA, and that's up in Seattle, Washington. And that card is still on display in their, they call it their vault there. So really learned how to build relationships and go after things that other people wouldn't. And now I just apply it to this industry, and it works seamlessly.
Yeah, that is that's gold. That and I don't know if people pick up on that. The whole emotional path, taking them down the emotional path. Now, on the flip side, we're not necessarily selling the dream, but we're solving a problem, which is essentially the dream. We're taking a burden away. We're painting a picture of a better life, right? And that's what I absolutely agree that I think so many people in this industry fail to do in the conversation. They want to make it about the number and, all the things that are going to matter to us in our organization and not about what matters to the sellers. So one of the biggest challenges I think is for the owner of an organization is how do you explain that to somebody you hire when you hire somebody, and hopefully this isn't like a curveball question, but do you find that you have to find people that have that instinct in them, or can you develop that into somebody?
So we've gone both ways with this. We've tested this out a lot. Mike is the only person with extensive sales experience that has actually made it through our training and survived with the business. He has that natural raw sales talent inside. Now, when we look at people we've hired with extensive sales experience, those people typically are so set in their ways that I know everything mentality, and they don't want to learn. Now, there's a big difference between going out and selling. So if I have my phone and I said, you know what, I want to sell you my phone today. I'm selling you a product. And there's a big difference between selling a product and getting somebody to sell you their house. So you do have similarities. You've got relationship building. You still got roadblocks you've got to get through. But as we started looking at people that were severe or extremely experienced in sales, they didn't survive as much. It took more the new, greener people that wanted to learn. Now, what we look for, we have a very, very tough interview process to get in the door with us. And when we got this in place, all the fine tuning we went through, we haven't lost anybody in our company, and it's been almost 3 years. Let me correct that. They haven't quit in almost 3 years. We have let some people go for various reasons, but everyone we put through that interview process on our sales team has stayed, and they've succeeded because we take care in those people. We put time and effort in them. We're going out and grabbing a drink in the evening with them, making sure that they have a chance to voice their opinions. We had one of our guys yesterday that was struggling with some stuff. We took him to lunch and sat down and just took time talking to him. And we've created more of a company. We've created a family here. And I truly believe that any one of us, I mean, if something went wrong, I mean, look at one of our sales guys. He was in the hospital twice, and he doesn't have family here. You know who was by his bedside the entire time? As scary as it sounds, the two of us. We were literally sitting there, and he was telling us to leave. And we wouldn't leave. We wouldn't leave. We literally closed our business that day, left, and went and hung out with him to make sure he wasn't alone at the hospital. That's the team that we've created, and it's so important. So we want people on our team that want to do that same thing. And hiring people that are a little less experienced seem to be our gold mine. You've heard a lot about the tests out there, the Colby tests, and all those type of things people take. I'll be honest, I hate those things because it gives me like a preconceived notion of what someone's going to be like prior to actually giving that person a chance. Am I really going to base a hire on a piece of paper? When I went away from that, I started having success. When I did that, I always went in with, oh, this person's going to be this way or going to be this way. And it really helped me just to throw that out. And everybody out here that's working with us right now is very new to the sales industry. But those guys, almost everybody was making 30, 40 grand a year before they came on with us. And now they're breaking well over 6 figures. I mean, some of these guys will approach $200,000 this year, and that's more money than they ever thought they'd make. And, you know, Mike is a excellent sales trainer when it comes to getting that person to that point. But I think that, you know, my previous COO, we didn't have the ability to jive together like Mike and I do. And I feel like between the management and the training aspect really coming together with both of us, we've seen a lot of success out of it. And even outside companies that have sent people to us have seen a lot of success from that. So everybody's going to do things a different way. And I suggest if you want to hire someone with full-on sales experience, do it. But be prepared. You're going to have some challenges. You might get that one unicorn, you know. I found that unicorn within here. But just my experience, hire green. Hire someone that wants to learn and wants to make a ton of money.
And coachable. I mean, to piggyback on that, we want somebody coachable. And
right.
He nailed it. If you hire somebody that has that know-it-all mentality, how are you going to break through to them? So coachable is the number one quality we look in a candidate. Are you driven? Are you coachable? And are you a team player? And if you are, you're going to go real far, not only in this company, but within this industry. And then you can apply those sales tactics to any industry after that. Coachability is going to be the number one factor when you're looking for a hire in the sales department.
Teachable and coachable is one thing I always say when it comes to hiring. I always want somebody that I can connect, that I can develop into who I need them to be. So I totally agree with that 100%. Something you said about the personality test. I know that some people on here are probably utilizing them, and some people are going, "Wait, what? There's personality tests." So just to kind of hit on that, for those of you who don't know, there are different personality tests like DISC out there that you can utilize to get an idea of somebody's, their drive or lack thereof, or, if they're conservative or not, and so on and so forth. What I've learned, because I did the same thing. I went through all these variations of personality tests, and I made decisions based on the personality. What I've learned through the last couple of years at personality tests is the personality tests are more designed for us to understand how to communicate effectively with our team. They shouldn't be used to live or die on as far as whether or not the person's going to become part of our team. And that's I think the key takeaway with personality tests. And it's a communication tool. It's understanding how my personality and your personality relate together. And so how I need to make sure that I'm communicating with you so you understand my meaning and purpose behind it.
You hit that nail on the head, man. And that's something everyone needs to really listen to. Don't hire based on that personality test. Hire based on the person.
Mm-hmm.
Then train based on a personality test. If you must do it. I don't do it at all.
Right.
Because I'm getting to know people so much in the interview that I'm understanding their personality while we're in there. And you learn it more as they get hired. But you can even simply ask people, how do you like to learn? You know, a simple question. Why can't we just ask somebody that question? Because I know that I like to learn hands-on, but there's other people that like to learn by just sitting and watching videos. Somebody should be able to tell you how they like to learn based on how they've done things in the past. And it's a very simple question, but I think people just are, even employers, if you're a new employer trying to hire people, you're nervous in an interview as well. It's not just the candidate that's nervous. And we tend to really take that candidate and make them feel comfortable. Now, first thing I ask someone is, are you nervous? Every interview, are you nervous? And they're going to kind of be hesitant to answer. It's okay. You can be nervous, but hey, we're just friends here.
Right.
We're just sitting and having a conversation. Kind of just shake yourself out and let's just sit and talk. And I told them, I don't care about your strengths or weaknesses. I don't care about the standard job questions. We're just going to have a conversation and get to know each other. And usually the person, you see them go, whew, like they just feel like a weight's been lifted, because everybody puts on a front in an interview. Knock that wall down and have those conversations. And I feel like as soon as we do that, we see a big change in that candidate. And then we start jumping in and really start hammering on them. And, but we get true feelings out of that person instead of what they want us to hear.
Very cool. What's I just this is for my actually, I want to know this question, but what's would you say is the one or two questions you always ask in an interview that you feel like get you the best perception or at least the best vision of what this person is going to be for you?
So, like I said, we like to have fun. So we tell everybody that comes to the interview to bring something to sell us.
Okay.
We've seen a variety of things that people bring our way. Typically, they're going to bring a pen. But together, our goal is to literally screw up their sale, right? Because put that into being at a seller's house. Mike's walking into a seller's house. He's talking to this seller, and there's going to be a point in every sale where something kind of goes rocky. And that's your objection, right? So what we do is together we try to screw that up. And we do pretty successfully every time. But what we're looking for, and now I'm giving this out there so people that are going to apply with us are going to know this. What we're looking for is, as the seller's kicking you out of the house, as we've stumped you and given you that objection, did you try one last spin? Even if it wasn't successful, did you try one last thing to try to not get kicked out of that house? Did you try it? And if that person tries that, I don't care if they complete the sale or not. They still gave it one last shot, and they didn't just take rejection and walk out the door. That's our candidate.
So Scott calls the interviews tough. I call them fun. It's fun for me at least. And to date, nobody has been able to sell me anything in these interviews. However, I have sold them in the interview. So it's been a lot of fun, but the reason why we do that is to see how quick on their toes are they. Are they able to have a conversation without knowing the topics? Are they going to be able to push through the pressure, or are they going to crack, right? A lot of them just crack. And if they do, but we know early on in an interview, if somebody's going to crack, they're not our candidate. Mm-hmm. But typically the ones that are going to be staying quick on their toes and try to come back with other things to be able to get around the objections is what we're going to be looking for. From there, we're going to teach you everything you need to know. Mm-hmm. That's all we want.
Yeah.
Coachability, somebody quick on the toes and have the drive and have fun. I mean, our interviews, if you're in our office here and we're interviewing, you would never know it's an interview because we're in there laughing and yelling and having a good time. I mean, we have fun with everything that we do.
And an interview is probably not even the word. It's more of a meet and greet, right? We're greeting this person. We're understanding who they are. And we don't go in with any interview questions. So we don't. They have their resume in there, and I'll pick things apart. I'll look for misspelled words, and I'll just point things out just to poke fun at it. But I mean, ultimately, we're just having a conversation, and everyone goes in with this list. Here's the interview questions I have to hit. What are your 3 strengths and what are your 3 weaknesses? When you dealt with a situation at your last job, what was it and how did you overcome it? I'm just like, how do people even hire off of this? How do they do it? Like, you're not getting to know the candidate, because I used to know when I went in for interviews back in the day that they're going to ask 3 strengths and 3 weaknesses. So I had my strengths ready to go. And then I had my weaknesses that also spin as strengths to make it sound like, yes, I have weaknesses, but they're strengths. And everyone's got that stuff ready to go. Forget that. Throw everything out that somebody thinks you're going to ask and put them on the spot. Because I guarantee you, a seller is going to put them on the spot at the house. So our goal is to almost have like they're walking our house. They're coming in and we're going to throw all these objections at them. And we want to see, are they going to take a sledgehammer and knock those down, or are they going to run?
Yeah, I was going to say your interview, the whole thing about having a conversation and having things come out of left field and asking questions they're not expecting. I mean, that's really your interaction with the seller, right? I mean, when you're trying to diffuse their guard and their skepticism and get the conversation flowing in a manner where you can ask the questions to get them to tell you how to close them. You're doing the same thing, you know, and especially if they're talking to multiple investors who are going through a script. It's the same style. So you guys, totally cool. So I'm kind of the same way when I interview. So let's talk about how do you train when you bring on acquisitions team members, new acquisitions team members? What's your training process? Do you train them into the acquisitions role right away and throw them out into the field? Do you make them do other roles in the sales part or marketing part of the organization first? Like, what does that typically look like?
Sure. So we actually used to hire right into that outside sales role, and we still will occasionally. We just actually did, because we had such a good candidate. We're like, no, we need to put this person right on the front line. But what we do is we actually hire inside sales first now. So you start out as your inside sales role, and that's our opportunity to groom that person. And we tell this person, if you've ever joined like a frat or a sorority, you're going through hell week. But it's going to be like a hell year, because we're going to critique every single thing you do. If that person answers a phone call, when we give them those phone privileges, it's always on speaker. And we can hear the conversation, because if we can't hear it, we can't help them through it. So they basically come on as an inside sales role, and they're just basically prepping, right? They're seeing, does the seller want to sell? And they get it to one of our acquisitions guys. But they're prepping that appointment, and we'll go up and we have our universal sign in the office that's this. So if they're on the phone, this means mute your phone. And they'll press the button, they'll mute it, and then we can say, hey, hey, Mike, this seller's really running away with you right now. Hey, do this. And he's going to mute it. And then I'm going to say, Mike, try this approach with this seller, because they're walking all over you. And he's going to unmute it. He's going to try that approach, and then he's going to do it again. And then, no, okay, that one's not working, Mike. Now try this. And he's going to shift his approach based off of what we have going on. And I mean, somebody could be in this position for a year and a half. It could take time, but this person's taking a lot of crap from us. We support them the entire time, but our goal is to make it so they go from that smaller salary they're making in that position to 5 times going to an outside sales role.
And there's no timeline. So when we first hire the candidate, we're looking to hire right away. Once we make a decision, there's no second guessing it. We make the decision and we get them in the door right away. Mm-hmm. From there, we throw them right into the fire. So before they even see a computer or a phone, they're going to take a 8-hour training from me directly on why do we even make our phones ring at this company. Because if you don't know why the phones ring and you don't know why you're taking these calls, you're not going to be able to do anything for the company. So 8-hour training of what we do and why we do it. And this is only why we take phone calls and what we need to do with those phone calls. This isn't why we send mailers. This isn't why we have a dispo guy. This is why we pick up a phone. That's all it is. 8 hours. And they're required 10 pages of notes minimum. And those notes, don't tell anybody, but I never read them. It's just so they're actually listening and taking content away, because I feel like when you actually write down nuggets that work for you, you absorb them and they last a lot longer for you. So I require everybody to take notes. Also in our office, anytime that there's a meeting or anytime that I'm talking to somebody, an employee, or Scott's talking to an employee, mandatory notepad, because you need to write down things that are important to you at that time, or you're going to forget. There's too much going on in the world. Mm-hmm. So they take the 8-hour training. We throw them into the bullpen with the rest of the sales guys, and it's loud and there's a lot of activity and a lot of testosterone, and loud voices and angry callers, and they're just sitting right there like, what the hell am I doing here? But we don't hold back. We just get them right in. And then from there, they could move into outside sales within 3 months or 3 years. There's no timeline. It's all up to the individual. And this industry comes down to that. What are you going to bring to the table every single day? When you wake up, are you going to be that lion with that lion mentality and go eat? If you're not, that's going to take you 3 years to move to outside sales, if you ever do. Right? But if you come in here and you're banging the doors down to get into the company and making the most calls and getting the most leads over to the sales team, you're going to be in acquisitions before you know it.
Fantastic. Yeah,
Great.
I love that. So, very cool. That is, that's something to also like make them earn it, right? That's essentially what you're saying. And that's, I went back and forth with different people in the organization and other organizations about that. It's do you provide everything for them to be successful, or do you want the people who want to earn it? And I'm of the mentality that I want the people who want to kill what they eat and they want to go out there and earn it. They're not waiting for the world to be provided to them. So, and I think that's part of it. I think that's a good takeaway for people listening as far as finding the people who are going to be successful for you long-term in your organization. So very cool. Mike, share a sales strategy with me, something that somebody can sink their teeth into here on this, obviously listening and to what the seller's saying. But what are some of the, I don't know if I'm throwing something again, like a curveball at you, but what are some of the things you do when you're on the phone with the seller, vetting them, qualifying whether or not they're going to be somebody that's worth talking to your time? What are some of the steps you go through to make sure that you can get that on track the way it's supposed to be?
Yeah, perfect timing, actually. So just weekly, we have a sales meeting, and what I broke down this week is breaking the ice. Get on the phone, break the ice as soon as you can, as quick as you can, break the ice with that person. So typically you'll hear very stale conversations. Hey, this is Mike. I'm a local investor. I want to buy your house.
Because they're doing this. They're reading their script. Right?
Mm-hmm. Nobody's going to sell you anything on that. So break the ice, and the fastest way that you could do that is by mirroring them 100%, right? Especially, there's more than just the 4 different types of personalities. There's 100 different personalities. I'll tell you that because it depends on the age, male or female, what part of the country they live in, if they're a driver, if they're not a driver. So breaking the ice is going to be very strange. When I take a phone call, I have no clue what path I'm going to go on in that phone call. And I base it off the first time I hear their voice. And the first time I hear their voice is going to be how I break the ice with them. So if it's somebody that is going to be a cranky guy, why are you calling me? I don't have any time for this. I'll just give it right back to, oh, this is great. I don't have any time for this either, so let's be quick. And then they're like, wait a second, this guy he has less time than me. I got to be able to give him some time, because if not, I'm not going to get him back on the phone. So I want to trick them with thinking that I'm busier than them. And within 15 seconds into the phone call, the ice is broken. I'm no longer busy and they're no longer busy. And all of a sudden we're just having a calm conversation of why they even picked up the phone to begin with, right? Rule number 1 is going to be breaking the ice on the phone call. And then second, absolute rule, which is the hardest thing for anybody with sales experience to do. This is why we don't like sales experience when you come into our team. 90-10. Let the seller talk 90% of the time, and the salesperson talks 10% of the time. So that is very, very tricky to get through to a new salesperson. And recently I had to install the 40-second rule. 40-second rule. So Dylan, if you're on the phone with Don, the seller, Don is going to go ahead and speak. Once Don is done talking, you're going to set a timer on your phone. That is 40 seconds. I don't want you to say one word until the 40 seconds has expired. Because what's going to happen is there's space to fill on this call. And if the salesperson is not talking, who's going to fill that space? That's going to be the seller. In this scenario, it's Don filling the space. And when Don doesn't really know that he should be talking because he said everything that he had to say, but there's still space to fill, now he's going to tell you stuff that he didn't even want to because it's just talking. That's when you get the real information out of your sellers. 90-10, break the ice, and the 90-10, that's how you're going to get your way to not only more deals, but bigger spreads and then continue to do something like this on a daily basis. Not just a one-hit wonder, you fall into $100,000 spread. We're talking about doing this monthly, quarterly, yearly, consecutively, year after year.
Well, let's talk about how awkward that is too. I mean, when you get to the point where the first person that talks loses, I mean, that's bad, because a new sales guy, it's so awkward sitting on it. Like if we all just sit here right now and we're talking, and it's awkward, isn't it? It's just awkward. So, but imagine that going on for 40 seconds, a minute, 5 minutes potentially. I've heard these guys give offers to sellers, and the seller doesn't know we do this, but we'll mute our phone to make it really silent. And we'll just sit there, and they don't know we're sitting here just carrying on a conversation about something completely different, how our weekend was or whatever. And the seller will go, "Are you still there?" "Oh yeah, I'm still here." Mute it again. And then pretty soon that seller will come back and they'll say, "Yeah, it's a little, the offer's a little too low." Great. Now they came back, versus a lot of people that are probably watching right now, that awkward silence, they want to fill it because they're nervous, and they start talking faster and faster and faster because they're trying to fill that space, because they're afraid, oh, the seller's going to hang up. No, the seller will stay right there the majority of the time. And it's just as awkward for them as it is for us. But it's almost comical for us, because we're like, they're going to talk. They're going to talk. Mm-hmm. And that is so important, because it really is letting that offer sink in their head. Because if he offered someone $300,000 for their house and they said, "Okay, man, I got to walk away with X amount of money because I'm going to buy a car, I'm going to go on a vacation, I'm going to do A, B, and C with this money." Every dollar that you take away from them, you're not taking away potentially their income in their mind. You're taking away one of those things that they plan on spending that money with. Because let's say that most people these days are spending so much money and living paycheck to paycheck that when they get a lump sum coming in, grandma passed away, you're getting her house, you're getting this money, and gosh, with this money, I'm going to buy all these things. Mike literally just took their new car away from them. He took it away because his offer wasn't high enough. Now he just took away their vacation house. He's taken away all these things in their mind. So that's why he has to be so quiet and let them have that moment to really think through these things. And as we talk about this, we're also spending time making sure that we're explaining why we're where we are too. Because we're not just going to be like, "Okay, Mr. Seller, you don't want to talk long? All right, we'll give you $300,000. What do you think?" That's not the way the conversations are going. The offer comes last. He's building rapport with these people the entire time. And as he's doing that, our goal is to make these people just love us. And I've heard some of these voicemails, because he will match even the way their voicemail says. I've heard voicemails left from my entire team of a real type A driver personality where it's like, "Hey, it's Mike. Yeah, I'm just calling to give you an offer on your house. Give me a call back." I mean, they'll give a voicemail like that. And people will call us. So it's absolutely crazy what works on people, but you have to not be afraid to try it. And you have to not be afraid to shut up and just be awkward.
Yeah, I call it being comfortable in the uncomfortable, right? If I'm sitting here very comfortable and relaxed, and my seller is the one that's uncomfortable, they're nervous, then they're going to say things that they probably shouldn't be saying. That's going to give me more information to be able to buy the property. Mm-hmm. Now, on the flip side, a nervous sales rep is going to overtalk and is going to kill the deal by overselling. I don't sell. I don't. The seller typically sells me because they're telling me everything about the house. If a seller wants to walk the house with you and point out every single thing in the entire house, let them do it, because as they're doing that, they're talking. And when they're talking, they're becoming more comfortable, and you're listening. Then you go back to the 90-10. You're listening. They're going to give you very, very valuable information. I could get more information out of a seller by just listening rather than asking questions. If I ask Scott a question, he has to answer that one question. If I just let Scott talk, he's going to tell me everything. Fun stuff.
I mean, people will talk forever.
Yeah, it's fun stuff. And sometimes they just won't stop talking, which is even better. But and then you're like, how do I get him off the phone? Oh, here's a seller right here.
Yeah, I mean, all that is gold. It's and we've all heard it for years, right? Forever. We've heard about the uncomfortable silence in sales, and so many people, it's like they miss that that portion of it. And something you said, Scott, that I want to hang on is they're just as uncomfortable as you, right? Yeah. They're having that uncomfortableness in the silent as you, so you don't need to fill that space. And one of the things, because I'm not even going to say I was anywhere near as good as you guys are at sales, but I did acquisitions myself when I first started, and I'm a natural introvert. That's just naturally I'm an introvert. And so one of the things I learned really quick is if I just asked the right questions and didn't just been myself and just not said anything, the seller would eventually tell me exactly how to close them.
100%. Yeah, you nailed it. I did the same thing. I mean, when I started this business, I was the one out on the road as well. And I think most people that start, that's the position we start in, right? Because we can't afford to hire people on. You're to the point where you either do it yourself or you just don't do it. And I really liked sitting down and talking to people. And that's why I liked being out there. The part I didn't like was driving to and from the appointments, because our traffic here, man, we're not that far apart. By the time you drive, from me to LA and back, I mean, there goes half your day. And that's what I hated, especially when I didn't get a contract and then I had 2 hours in the car to think about it on the way back. Let me tell you, every person that potentially comes over without a turn signal in front of me, I'm pissed at them because I'm already irritated that I didn't get the contract. So I'm like, I got to get off the road. But I used to like that aspect. And you're right. As you're talking to people, they're going to tell you what they want. They're going to share with you life stories, because there's two ways to approach a house. You go into a house and you say, hey, I'm Scott, I'm here to give you an offer. And you just sit here and talk about the offer the entire time. Good luck. You're not going to get that deal. Hey, I'm Scott. How are you today? Okay, great. Oh, are these your grandkids? Oh my gosh, do you see them often? You're building that rapport with the person while you walk through the house. Then at the end, you're like, oh, man, I'm sorry. We came here to talk about the house. We've just been talking for a while. Let's touch on this. And then you do that at the very end, right? You're not doing that you may be at the house 45 minutes to an hour or even longer, but your talk of an offer may only be 5 to 10 minutes because you spent the rest of the time just talking to this person. And now you know their life story, which is fantastic, because even if you don't get that signed right then, I would say it's a pretty high probability that person's going to call you back, even if they get a higher offer from somebody else. We're not the highest offer in the majority of our deals. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
And we get it because we don't focus so much time on the offer, right? That seller might call us back. Money might be everything to the seller, but they might call us back and say, hey, Mike, you offered me $400,000 for the house. I've got an offer at $410,000. I really want to work with you. I would guarantee Mike's probably not going to go to $410,000, but he might be able to squeeze that number a little more, because at that point we know, hey, the seller wants to work with us. They showed us the cards. We don't have to go to $410,000, but if he can get to $405,000, perfect. And let's make it work. So they will at least call us because we spent so much time building rapport, and most importantly, follow-up. We left that appointment and that seller does not forget who we are. We will call them. We'll text them. But when we call them, it's not, hey, Mike, how's the offer coming? You think about it? No, it's, hey, how are you today? Did you have a good weekend? Perfect. And then you almost get ready to hang up the call and you say, oh, by the way, did you decide what you want to do here? And then you're on that again. But we've even just called people and not even brought up the offer in the past. Just talk to them. Then you call them back a couple of days later and say, man, Bob, when I talked to you, I totally forgot to ask you if you thought about the offer. So I want to give you a call back here real quick. We were just sitting and talking. And that rapport building and the follow-up is so important. Rapport building does not stop after you leave that appointment.
Right. I agree 100%. Like everything you said, I agree 100%. And it's gold. This is like total gold. If anybody's listening to this and whether you're on Facebook right now or on iTunes or Stitcher or something later, like rewind it and listen to it all again. And it is important knowledge. So anything you feel like you want to put out there that I haven't asked? This is a question I'm starting to ask more and more, but anything you feel like we didn't cover?
I mean, it really depends on who's watching, right? I mean, if you've got a bunch of new people watching, people that are trying to get started, they're sitting and watching this video, but they've watched 50 videos before this. Make this your last one and stop for a while and go out and take action on something. And I think that's one of the things that isn't said enough in this industry. It's always watch the next video, watch the next video. The thing is these videos that are being done, including yourself, you do videos to help people get to that next level. And I respect that so much. But if someone watches 10 of your videos and they just keep watching and keep watching, they're just shoving everything into their head. Now, you have to take action at some point to learn what you need to learn. What you don't know, right?
Right.
So you have to figure out what it is you need. So if I was just learning and I've watched videos, I'm going to go out and take some action, knock on some doors, talk to some sellers. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to start realizing where I'm getting stuck and where I need to learn. So a lot of the videos start you here and try to get you here. But again, here to here, here to here. If you go out and actually practice, now you can watch the video that's going to take you to here. And you can go and really try to get yourself to that next level. You know, that analysis paralysis is really out there. And there's so many people that are so focused on that they're going 6 months to a year and they're like, well, I haven't got a deal. Well, have you even talked to a seller in this time, or did you just watch videos? And it's amazing how many people tell us they've just been analyzing. I've been analyzing. So let's just call it what it is. It's fear. Mm-hmm. That person is afraid to go out because they are afraid to fail. You have to fail at something to learn how to get better at it. Just because you failed at appointment doesn't mean that you failed at business or you can't overcome that. You hit a roadblock. Get past that roadblock. That is so important for people to do. So take what you will out of every video. Take your nuggets, but implement it. That's it.
And that goes more so for the newbie, but also the experienced sales guy. Get out there and do it. Pick up the phone, go to these houses, get deals going. Don't be afraid to do it. Take action right now. And then also what we can help bring to the table as well, especially with the REI Masters, is we all know in this business that if you buy more leads and you spend more money in marketing, you can possibly get more deals, but that costs more money.
Yeah.
What if we could take your average spread on the same amount of marketing costs that you have right now, same amount of business costs that you have right now, and add an extra 25% to that average spread? That's pure profitability without any extra cost. Larger spreads equal more profit without any extra cost at all. And that was the number one thing that when Scott and I started collaborating on this business, I said, I want to double our average spread. Our average spread, I think, is now it's close to 4 times what it was when we first had that conversation.
Yep. And I mean, if we go this way and I say, okay, Don, let me ask you a couple questions. And I said, all right, if I told you, I'll give you a list right now, you can go market to it. You can go spend 10 times on marketing. Or I give you option B. What if I didn't give you a list and you go spend 10 times more on marketing, but we trained you on how to negotiate better, that you're making the amount of money you would have made without the additional marketing expenses, right? I think anyone that has a business our size is going to say, this is dumb. Why wouldn't I just try to increase my spread? And this happens on both ends. You need to increase the spread with the seller through rapport, but then you also need to look at the dispo side of the deal as well and say, how can I negotiate with my buyers? So you may get 5,000 more here and 5,000 more here. That's 10 grand more per deal.
Right.
How you times that by all the deals that you're doing every year, that's a huge number. So what we want to do is we want to teach people how to increase that spread on the deals you're getting. But then also, in addition to that, the marketing you're throwing away because the seller said no, is there some common occurrence there where you're getting stuck that we can help get you past that? So not only increase your spreads on deals you did get, but also make it so you're getting deals you wouldn't have gotten at all. And that is really important because, okay, I didn't get those, market more. All right, didn't get those, market more. And it's just a constant cycle. But when you start looking at KPIs, cost per lead, cost per contract, you can literally look at cost per call inbound. And if you look at how many do not mails call you and things like that, do not contacts, that wastes your leads team time, right? Your acquisitions people are making one call and saying, well, seller's not interested. And then they move on. There's a lot of wasted leads there. What if we can teach those acquisitions people how to utilize more of those leads through actually talking with the seller and overcoming the objections and getting down to the root cause of why the seller is saying no? Then you've potentially doubled your income. We did. We doubled our income year over year. And for this year alone, I mean, I set a killer quarterly goal for Q1 of 2020. Killer goal. And I'm like, dang, this is going to be tough. We accomplished that goal already in how many weeks?
6.
6 weeks. We accomplished our entire quarterly goal because we are still putting in place the things that we want to teach at the REI Masters. And we literally crushed our quarterly goal. I mean, blew it out of the water. And that's what I want to see more people do. So we want to teach that to other people.
Right.
And, you know, we have some very common people. We know a lot of the same people. You guys know, Max Maxwell, good friend of mine. He sent his new salesperson down to us for 2 days. And this was a good test for the REI Masters. She came to us very green, never closed a deal. She spent 2 days with us just role playing, teaching her how to overcome objections. She left after that 2 days and she closed 5 deals in her next week. And fast forward, it's been eight months roughly now. Yeah. She is now his VP of sales. So, and she's running his entire sales organization. So what we're teaching works. And what we're doing different than a lot of other things out there is you're not coming to a room with 400 people in it. You're coming to a room with 30 to 40 people in it. And we're not sitting and watching a PowerPoint because I strongly don't believe that's how you're learning. You're learning by being hands-on. So we're going to be hands-on for 2 days. We're not even letting people out for lunch. Literally, lunch is coming in this room. It's basically we're chaining the doors from the outside and saying, you can leave here when you close a deal. That's what we're going to try to do. And we want these people that are in this room to spend 2 entire days role-playing, learning how it is that my company closes these deals to accomplish our entire quarterly goal in 6 weeks.
And another fun fact, and I'm sure you get this one a lot too, Don, being in California, is, well, you're in California. The market there is going to give you bigger spreads. Yeah. And yes, that's true on the surface. But Scott and I have broken down every county that we have here surrounding us and where we market and where we close deals. And the lowest average housing cost county is where our biggest spreads come from. Mm-hmm. So our cheapest houses produce the biggest spreads.
Yeah.
So the mindset of my market won't produce bigger spreads, throw it away. That's your own mental roadblock. Throw that away.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I agree. I'm in Fresno, California. That people tend to make jokes about in movies. So that's my home base. That's my main market. I do stuff in the Bay, and stuff like that. But we'll have, we've had a 6-figure deal. We've had, $50,000 assignment fee regularly, type of thing. So I agree, and our median home value is, I think, 250. So our all ends on rehabs are 150 to 175. So when we're, going all in on our projects, so we're not like most of the country, and we can still get some pretty phenomenal spreads on deals here. Of course, my biggest spread has been up in the Bay Area, but that's a whole different animal. So I agree. And something you said, Scott, about, and I'm going to reword it in different form is if you can put $1 in your company and get $3 out, imagine if you could take that same dollar in and get $4 out instead, or $5 out instead. And that's essentially what you're wanting to help people do. So, yeah. So fantastic. Well, if you want more information about what these 2 gentlemen are doing with the REI Masters, right? And go to reimasters.com, thereimasters.com. Tell them how else to get a hold of you guys if they want to reach out and say hello.
Yeah, definitely. So you guys can reach out to us through Instagram or Facebook. We also have the REI Masters page on both of those, so you can go ahead and submit a form on there. If you are interested in potentially coming, our first REI Masters is actually in April this year. It's going to be in Dallas, Texas. So we're looking to fill that room up pretty quick. So get in here. Don't waste time on this because it's going to fill up. Go to the website. If you're not quite ready, submit a little form on there so we can reach out to you. And this is going to be 100% acquisitions focused. We're not going to be, this is not a a mastermind. If you want a mastermind, be in this room.com, right?
Yep, absolutely.
So you've got to do that. These two things complement each other, right? Don has a killer mastermind where he's teaching people how to be business owners and how to grow their business. Now, on the other hand, we're teaching people on the acquisition side of the business how to make more money for your business. So there's two completely different things. So head to the reimasters.com. You can take a look. We're not doing the whole reach out to us. We can tell you the pricing. It's right there. It's on the website for you guys. But if you guys have any type of concern, anything like that, fill out that form so we can get in touch with you and have a quick conversation, because I strongly believe that anybody that's in this room is going to leave mind blown. Like I said, this is not an event with 200 people. We're not talking to you. We're working with you. You're not going to leave with 2 to 3 nuggets like you do with a huge event. You're going to leave just mind blown, going, oh my gosh, I can't learn one more thing because I can't fit it all in here. And we want you to go back and see an immediate change. We're even going to tell these people to bring some of their leads. We're going to call them in the room. We're going to actually talk to some of their sellers. What if someone paid to come into this and then we help them close a deal where they made 10 grand?
Right.
I mean, that's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Come in here. Let us help you talk to your sellers. And when we talk about the whole, oh, it's a California thing, keep in mind, Max's business is in North Carolina. That's about as far apart as you could possibly go. And Shannon is killing it after coming here. We did it in Portland, Oregon, too, with Joe Taylor. His guy came here. His guy needed a lot of help, and he went back, and he literally broke company records within a couple weeks of being back. Mm-hmm. So we want to help more people do that. And we think that 30 to 40 people is the max in a room to give the attention to everybody we need. And it's going to be a lot of fun. So definitely check it out. Reach out to us.
Yeah, definitely. And if anybody who's ever listened to my show for the last 3 years knows that I'm very careful about anything that I endorse. I don't ever. In fact, I think Scott's the first person that I let get away with pitching on my show. So congrats. I'm serious. Like, I'm totally serious about that. Like, no one has ever been allowed to pitch their product. They've been allowed to drop a website at the end. And that's about the extent of it, because this show's never been about sales. It's been adding value. The reason why I am changing that wall that I have for this particular episode is because I know you guys, I trust you guys. I know that you have a real business, that Mike has come in and done some amazing things in your organization. And I know that the knowledge you're going to share is going to be real, actionable, and usable for people. And my job here is to make sure that people are doing what they need to do to be successful in their business. And the last thing I want to do is keep them away from something that's going to help them a lot. So this has my endorsement as far as what I think is a quality class, a quality product, quality individuals. And make sure you're checking out the reimasters.com if you are interested in that aspect of it. And then let's see, I guess that's it, right? So the business side of it, one more time, follow me at The Real Don Costa on Instagram. Make sure that you're liking and sharing this everywhere that you are listening to it, whether it's Facebook. If you share it on Facebook, if you like it and review it on, you subscribe and review it on iTunes or wherever else you listen, snap a picture, send it to me at donafliptalk.com. I'll send you a link to fill out your information. I'll send you a free Flip Talk shirt. I won't charge you shipping. It's totally free. So I just want to get the word out if you are looking for an incredible mastermind community. And I'm actually going to talk to these two gentlemen when I get off about working with me at one of the mastermind meetings that we have here in the near future. So if you're looking to be part of one of the be part of a mastermind community, go to beinthisroom.com and check that out. Apply if you feel like it's a good fit for you. Gentlemen, thanks for being with me today.
Thank you so much.